Let's see. All right, Josh, we're gonna do a little experiment here today with this live Kinstretch. So I'm on my phone. Hopefully it sounds a little better. If not, we'll go back to that TV. But today's gonna be all about the spine. So we're gonna see a little different than what we typically do in terms of spending a whole bunch of time in those base positions doing pails and rails. So we're gonna start with the neck. It's more active. So talking about those hinge points and dead spots, the spine is really. Actually, I forgot to even get a band real quick. Yeah, the spine is super active, so we're going to be moving a whole bunch, instead of just like spending a whole bunch of time in one position or the other. All right, so we're going to start with some neck. We said do thoracic, and then we'll end flexion extension of the spine. So what you'll need is just a few different blocks for sizes, more for later, and then a light or medium band. Okay, so we'll start first just with some straight neck cars, and then we're gonna go get down to a Sphinx position. Okay, so let's start two, nice and smooth. Draw the chin, drop the ear, straight up, ear towards the other back pocket. Back to that starting position. Go one more. Again, just take your time here, moving nice and smooth. Especially if these are your first cars today. Let's take it right back. I guess not any, but the first two positions we go through today, you can feel free to do these seated. We just fine to do if you're at your chair or something like that. Other one, we do have to get down on the ground for spinal segmentation. And perfect. Okay, so we're gonna get into a Sphinx position. Hopefully y'all can see, okay? Okay, so with this, you want the elbows pretty close to right under the shoulders, hand straight out. Okay, so we're just gonna start first with some flexion extension. So just think you're super active, trying to fight for as much range of motion as you can on all these. So drive it straight down, flexion, and let's go up to extension as much as you can. Again, breathe, reach, max pain-free range of motion. And then let's go down once more. Breathe, drive, nice and active. And then once more into extension. So we're going to focus on extension today because I'm sure most everyone spends a lot of time in flexion, which is here, looking at our phones or computers or such. So we're going to tackle rotation today in extension for the neck. Okay, so if you want to bring that neck all the way up as much as you can, let's start. We're going to rotate whichever way you want to start with. I'm going to the left. Again, just super active, reaching for as much range of motion as you can, staying in extension, back to your right. So if you're doing this seated, you'll just be looking straight up to the sky. One more each. These will actually be our only pails and rails today. We are going to do some pails and rails for the neck, just very, very lightly though. One more each. Breathe, drive, and good. Meet back center. Okay, so we're staying in extension. We're going to do 2 sets of pails and rails. So nice and extended. Rotate as much as you can. Again, I'm starting to the left, pain-free. Take the opposite hand, maybe those 2 fingers, put it right on your chin. We're going to start with the light pails. So pails, I'm going to be rotating into my chin. Rails, I'm trying to rotate the neck away from it. Okay, so big breath. Very lightly start to rotate back towards your midline, into your fingers. Call it 10% max effort. See if you can go a little bit harder. 20, and just hold that. Feel a nice stretch. contraction through the neck. Keep the tension. 5, 4, 3, 2. Slowly relax. Right to rails. 3, 2, 1. Now, barely try to rotate away from the fingers. Trying to get that ear closer to the shoulder. Again, pain-free. Keep that tension for 4, 3, 2. Relax. Place the finger where the chin is, so you're rotate it back a little bit more. Couple recovery breaths. We got one more. So big breath. Pails. Rotate into the fingers. 10%. 20. A little bit harder than the last time. Breathe and hold. We're just going to go 10 seconds here. Keep that tension for 5, 4, 3, 2. Slowly relax. Rails. 3, 2, 1. I'll try to rotate off of those fingers. Breathe and hold. 7, 6, 4, 3, 2. Slowly relax. Okay, now we're going to go back the other way. Okay, so extension. Now this is my right. Rotate as much as you can. Take the opposite hand, 2 fingers right on that chin, jaw area. We're going to start with the light pails. So big breath in, brace, and then slowly start to rotate the chin into the fingers, 20% or 10% max effort. Bit harder, 20, and hold. Nice and light here. Rotating into those fingers for 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2. Slowly relax. Rails. 3, 2, 1. Now try to rotate the chin off of those fingers and hold. Staying in as much extension as you can. Try to rotate that ear toward the shoulder. Keep that tension for 5, 4, 3, 2. Slowly relax. Bring the fingers to where the chin is at. So you should be rotated back a little bit more. Take a couple recovery breaths. And we got one more, just a little bit harder pails. So next breath, inhale. Brace. Start to rotate into the chin. 10%. 20. A little bit harder. 30 and hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Slowly relax. Right to rails. 3, 2, 1. I'll try to rotate the chin off and hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Slowly relax. Okay, now we got 2 neck cars back in this same position. Show a nice difference, especially going into extension. Draw the chin, drop the ear towards the other back pocket. If you're in this Sphinx position, just think a little tension through the forearms, fist. Shouldn't feel anything in the lumbar here. One more this way. Take your time. Good, good. Now let's take it back the other way. So drag the chin up the collarbone. Drop the ear toward the back pocket. Slowly look up. Ear towards the other back pocket. Chin towards the other shoulder. Back down to that starting position. Once more here. Drag. Drop. Slowly look up. Ear towards the other back pocket. Back down to that starting position. Perfect. Okay, neck done. So now we're going to get into the thoracic. So first, we're going to start with just 2 thoracic cars. So again, fine if you're seated here. I'll be in tall kneeling for most of this. So I'm just sitting back on my heels. Okay, I'll turn after these just so you guys can see the difference. Okay, so let's start with just 2 thoracic cars. So keep the chin right in line with your chest. We're going to flex down, rotate the upper back, drop the shoulder blade as we slowly look up toward the sky, extending just through the upper back, so core tight, shoulder blade toward the other back pocket, laterally flex, back down to that starting position. Once more this way, rotate, drop the shoulder blade, that extension through the upper back, little lateral flexion, back down to the starting position. Okay, let's take it back the other way. Go like this. Just give you guys a little different view. Flip, rotate, drop the shoulder blade, little extension through the upper back, shoulder blade toward the other back pocket, laterally flex, back down. Once more, rotate, laterally flex, drop that shoulder blade. It'll slowly start to come up into extension. Rotate the other way, laterally flex, and back down to that starting position. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to start with, so these are going to be, again, nice and active. We're just going to work on rotation and flexion, and then rotation and extension. And then we'll end with 2 more cars. Okay, so we're going to go 3 each way. We're going to go about 5 seconds each rep. So just be nice and active. You're really trying to fight for as much range of motion as you can, just in the upper back. Okay, so let's give yourself a big hug. If this is too uncomfortable, you can always grab a block too, like this, and just kind of like flex over it. Okay, and feel free to switch hands. It doesn't really matter as long as you can feel it, but just to make it even, if you want to switch, feel free. Okay, so here we go. Give me a little flexion, straight down, just the upper back. So I'm going to start to rotate towards the left as much as I can. I'll hit a stopping point, and I'm trying to fight through the stopping point. Breathing, good tension as much as you can, driving through those lats, and then let's take it back the other way. Flex, stay flex, rotate. You should feel, again, those lateral side of your lats nice and flamed up. Reach. Okay, 2 more. Just take it back each time, trying to get a little bit more range of motion. Rotate. Breathe into that stopping point. Fight through it. Again, always pain-free. Drive. Then let's take it back. Rotate. Reach for as much range of motion as you have. Good. 1 more each. Good flexion. Just flip this way so you guys can see. A little different. Rotate. Biggest one. Fighting the hips away. 1 more each. Stay flexed. Rotate. Drive. And relax. Okay, now we're going to go to extension. Let me flip this way. I'll give you guys a little better view. So ideally, we're just extending the upper back, not the lower. Okay, so I'm straight up. Big hug. Pulling the chest up toward the sky. So I feel a nice contraction through the upper back. Okay, now here we go. Now I'm rotating towards, I'm going to the left right now. Feeling those slats, scaps nice and fired up, fighting for as much rotation as I have, staying in extension. Now let's take it back the other way. Rotate, doing your best to not move the pelvis or the lower back. Reach, feel it nice and tight in those lats. Breathe, take it back, 2 more each. Make sure you're staying up into extension. Rotate. Breathe, drive. Keep that tension. Let's take it back. Here we go. Hit that stopping point. Fight through it. Try to get as much range of motion as we can. Resisting the rotation from the low back. One more each. Here we go. Biggest one. Rotate, rotate. Get the stopping point. Fight through it. Keep driving, keep driving. Biggest contraction. And then let's take it back. Okay, here we go. Find that stopping point. Drive through it. Really fight for rotation. Reach, reach. And relax. Okay. 2 thoracic cars here. Okay. And then we're going to spend a bulk of our time working on flexion extension of our lumbar and thoracic. Okay, so here we go. Should go a bit smoother than those first ones we did. Oh yeah, nice. Breathe, rotate. Good rotation through that upper back. Laterally flex. Once more. Rotate. Reach. Again, resist the rotation from the lower back. Good intention. Spine is all about intention. Okay, you'll see that a lot. Like I said, we're going to spend a bit more time on flexion extension. So we're going to try to get as specific as possible with our segmentation. Okay, one more. Laterally flex. And nice. Okay, so far so good. All right, so now we're going to go into flexion extension of our spine. Okay, so this is the primary movement of the spine. So really important to take care of it. So we're going to start simply with some spinal segmentation here. Just right in all fours. Nice box position. Okay, so let's start at the lumbar. Slowly move into extension. Mid. Upper. Head comes last. Then we'll start back at the low back. Pulling that belly button up toward the spine. Mid. Upper. Head goes down last. 2 more like that. It's nice and smooth. And we're not rushing through these. You should see if you did your spine assessment, just kind of be aware of those areas you pointed out that weren't moving or didn't move at all. And we're just going to do our best to get that connection during the segmentation. So you'll see, like I said, the other cars are not like this, but the more you can intentionally segment your spine, the better it'll get. If you literally sat here and did this for 30 minutes, after that time, you would feel a huge difference, especially if you're blocking yourself and relax, like we're about to do a little bit of. Okay, so we are going to start with thoracic. Okay, so that's the upper back. So this is when you're going to need your band. So you'll see we're going to do this for both. We're going to do specific segmentation, and then we'll do a little strength work before ending with some more spinal segmentation. Okay, so we're going to take our band, make an X, just like this. We're putting this around our upper back, like so. Okay, now if you need like a block or something to sit on, so if you're not super comfortable sitting back like this, feel free. You want to be as comfortable as you can. But ideally, your butt is glued back. Okay, now you can kind of play where you want this. I know that I have a little less segmentation, like a little more up, so I'm going to put it there. But wherever you feel like you weren't moving so well, put the band approximately in that area because that's where you're going to use that for feedback as we're going through our segmentation. Okay, so again, these are going to be nice and intentional. We got 5 reps. We're going to hold each about 10 seconds. Okay, so each time you're just trying to get a little bit more range of motion. So now we're going to start at our head. And now I'm going to try to segment one vertebra at a time, especially into the band. Big exhale, push everything away. You shouldn't be able to move your lumbar here. So you're breathing and fighting, feeling that tension. And now start back at the mid-back. Again, trying to segment one vertebra at a time. Let the band kind of pull you in. Hands and knees. Think like you're squeezing close to each other. Head comes up last. Exaggerate the extension. Fighting for as much as you can. Okay, now drop the head. Start at the upper back. Try to flex, flex, flex into the band. Really drive into it. Big exhale. Try to push that band as far away from your body as you can. And now start back at the mid-back, best of your ability. One vertebra at a time. Let the band pull you in. Squeeze those hands and knees close to each other. Head comes up last. Drive all that tension. Again, the lat should be nice and fired up. Feel like you need to adjust at any point to hit a different area. Feel free. I'm about to do that right now. So I feel like this lower area could use a little bit more love. So I'm going to just set it there. Okay. So 2 more or 3 more. So let's drop the head. Exhale, flex into the band. Yeah, that's good. Feel that good contraction. Drive. Really try to push the band away exactly where it's at. You're super active. And now start back at that mid-back. Extension. Letting the band pull you in. Squeezing those hands and knees nice and close to each other. Head comes up last. Really reaching for as much extension as you can. 2 more. Let's drop the head. Start at the upper. Exhale. Push into the band. Drive, drive. Really good tension into that band. And then start back at the mid-back. Slowly trying to move to extension. Good. Reach, reach. Okay, last one. Biggest one. Drop the head. Flex, flex. Really trying to segment one vertebra at a time. Biggest one here of the day. Really drive into that band. Good tension. And then start back at that mid-back. Letting the band pull you in. Drive. Biggest squeeze of the day here. As much extension as you can. And slowly relax. Whew. Now you could just sit there and just segment one part very specifically if you feel it doesn't move that much, which is perfect. Okay, so now we're going to do some eccentrics for straight flexion, and then we'll get in for thoracic flexion, then we'll get into our lumbar. Okay, so we're going to do 3 of these today. So we want to be in a seated position now. So I know I said you could do these seated. I lied. You got switched. Okay, so we're going to be as close to this L sit. All right, we're just going to do 3 reps. Okay, so heels nice and glued to the ground. You're going to fight for as much flexion as you can. Make sure you can see this full thing. Okay, so you're going to fight for as much flexion as you can right off the bat. So I'm driving the fist away, head down. And I'm trying to stay in as much flexion as I can this whole time. So the heels are glued. I'm driving my low back down towards the ground. Trying to just touch the lumbar first as I'm trying to stay as flexed as I can through my upper back. Feel the core a lot. Low back hits. Now let's go mid, upper, still fight for flexion all the way down to the end. 2 more like that. So you're just going to boost yourself up. Okay. Flex, flex. So reach for as much as you can here. Okay, here we go. Drive the heels. Let's slowly start to drive the low back down toward the ground. Fighting for flexion. So the core is super fired up. Low back hits. Slowly let the mid fight for flexion. Upper. All the way down. One more. Boost yourself up. Last one. Okay, here we go. Fight for flexion. Okay. Drive the heels into the ground and let's slowly start to drive that low back down towards the ground. Fighting for as much flexion as you can. Mid. Upper. And slowly relax. Okay. 2 down, 1 to go. Let me just check this real quick. Okay, perfect. All right. So last base position, we're gonna do some frog lumbar segmentation, and then we're gonna get into we're gonna do some bridge segmentation for the lumbar. Okay, so the exact opposite of what we just did. Okay, so we'll need maybe all your blocks, maybe not. So you want to bring it up to a spot where you can be comfortable-ish in a frog position, okay? So let me show you. Frog is going to be like this, okay? Maybe you can see it better like this. Okay, so legs out, feet flexed, just like that, okay? So you're going to kind of play with that because I'm going to do this from the side, okay? Now, the further back you are, the more intense it's going to be. The further up, the less intense, or it may be more on your groin, depending on how mobile you are. Okay, so see my groin's a little tight here, so I really like this position, but it is hard, so I'll be up just a tiny bit. All right, so you see I'm just got my forearms nice and tight on the ground. If you do want to like rest your forehead here as well, that's just fine. Okay, we're gonna work on extension here of the lumbar. So you see I'm going down as best I can. And then we're going to work on flexion of the lumbar. So you're trying to think like you're trying to pull your belly or your belt buckle up towards the sky, almost trying to point your butt down towards the ground for flexion, trying to exaggerate it, and then extension, try to go belly or your butt up towards the sky, belt buckle down towards the ground or this way. Okay, so take your time here. The lumbar does not have that much range of motion. So we're going to hold these ones a bit longer. But again, we're just going to go 5 reps, about 10, 15 seconds each. Okay, so let's start first in extension. So I'm thinking belt buckle away from my chest. Okay, so you see the blocks are right on my chest, so I shouldn't be able to segment my upper back. So I'm nice and active here, getting as much extension as I can. It may not look like that much. Just breathe and drive. You should feel your groins here as well. Okay, now let's slowly go to flexion. So you see I'm starting now my lower back, trying to pull that belt buckle up towards my chest. Now this is where your feet will kind of be driving into the ground. Just breathe. Get as much flexion as you can so you feel a nice contraction through the groin here as well. Just take your time here. Trying to just get that lumbar flex as much as you can. Fighting, you're super active. These are very active, okay? Okay, now let's start to go to extension. So this is a anterior pelvic tilt. So I'm doing my best to move just one vertebra at a time. Fighting and reaching for as much as I can. Again, pain-free. It should feel uncomfortable in throughout your hips, groin area. But you shouldn't feel pain in your lower back. Just breathe, keep that tension. Okay, now let's go to flexion. So now think like you're trying to tilt, point that butt down towards the ground, pull the belt buckle up towards the chest, and just breathe. Again, your outside of your feet, or I guess like by your big toe, should be slightly driving into the ground as well. Get a nice contraction through that groin. Okay, let's go back to extension. Start to drop the belt buckle away from the upper, away from the chest. As much extension as you can through the sacrum and the low back. You should also have nice tension through those elbows and fists. Breathe. Okay, back to flexion. So start back at the low back. The super lower, the sacrum should come last. So you're trying to literally like pull your pelvis up towards your upper chest. Or like pointing your butt down towards the ground. Just breathe best you can. Reach and fight for that range of motion. Okay, 2 more each. Start back at the sacrum, super lower back. Doing your best to segment one vertebra at a time. Into extension. Now breathe and drive. Feel those groins nice and fired up here. Fighting for as much extension as we can through the low back. Again, if it's not that much, that's just fine. Even if you're just thinking about it. Okay, back to flexion. So start back at the low back. Try to pull that belt buckle up towards the chest. Or this is a posterior pelvic tilt. Breathe, reach, and fight. Should be getting pretty intense here. One more each. Biggest one. Start back at the sacrum. Extension through the low back. Biggest one here. And then start back at the low back. Trying to again pull the belt buckle back up towards the chest. Flexion of the low back. Driving those feet slightly into the ground while you're trying to peel the belt buckle up towards the chest. And slowly relax. Ooh, man, that's intense. Okay, so now we're gonna do some pelvic tilt bridges. All right, so you're gonna be on your back here. It's our last thing before we end with some spinal segmentation. All right, so a nice bridge position. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go anterior pelvic tilt. So there should be space between the hands. Posterior pelvic tilt. No space. We're going to keep that. You're going to drive the toes and heels to bridge up as much as you can. And then you're going to slowly segment the mid back down, low back last. Okay? So 5 reps. So let's go anterior tilt. So belt buckle away from the upper back, from the chest. Posterior tilt. Keep that. Drive those toes and heels up. And then they'll slowly start to segment one vertebra at a time, mid, lower, keeping that posterior pelvic tilt all the way down. Then once you get to the ground, anterior tilt, so space between the low back and the ground, posterior tilt, no space. Bridge. Slowly start at the upper back, mid, lower. Good. Okay, 3 more. Anterior tilt, posterior, no space. Keep that. Bridge up, toes and heels, and then let's slowly start to bring one vertebrae down at a time, mid, lower. 2 more. Space between the low back and the ground, no space. Toes and heels, bridge, keep the tension, slowly segment down, one vertebrae at a time. And last one, anterior tilt, space, posterior, no space. Toes and heels, bridge. Starting at the upper back, segment one vertebrae down at a time. Low back comes last. And relax. Nice. Just gonna end with 3 spinal segmentation. Back in that quad position. It should feel pretty good. Okay, so let's start again in extension. Doing your best to move one vertebra at a time. Head last. Start back at the low back. Belly button. Mid. Upper. Head comes last. Start back at the low back. Yeah, nice. So that should feel hopefully a little more fluid than those first ones you did. Perfection's not a thing. So just doing as best you can here. Back at the low back. As you see, we're not perfect here. Ooh, we're just doing our best. Exhale. Last one. Start back at that low back. Mid, upper, head last. And then last one. Start back at the low back. Belly button. Mid, upper, and relax. Nice. That's a wrap, y'all.